From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate. Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
Well, good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Time now for the nation's sharpest opinion. I love the look on the face of the United States National Security Communications Advisor, a man called John Kirby, when he was asked by a journalist that is it true, as the Russians are saying, that the United States of America has been interfering in the general elections recently held in India. He couldn't believe it, and he had no reply, and he just said, no, it's ridiculous, it's not true, it's ridiculous, and blah, blah. But he had no reply. He was completely stunned. And that's what we should do with these Americans. We should keep asking them these questions that expose their role. You see, viewers, they are now saying, no, we did not interfere in the Indian elections. My question is, if America did not interfere in the Indian elections, then why is it that OpenAI released a report called 00, which said that an Israel-based firm was using artificial intelligence to disrupt the Lok Sabha elections and running pro-Congress party campaigns in order to disrupt the BJP's image and create an anti-BJP narrative? This report said that in May, the network began generating a lot of comments that focused on India, criticized the ruling BJP, and praised Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party. Now, if the United States of India and its deep state did not do that, then the question is, who did? Ladies and gentlemen, the fake content creation network spanned every social media, probably even reached you. And perhaps you were receiving messages that were generated indirectly by the American deep state and the deep state actors through its affiliates, social media companies like Meta, who have now acknowledged that they have been working, in their words, unfortunately, with the American deep state, but that they have been working to extend and put ahead the interests of the American deep state. And ladies and gentlemen, it was said in this report by OpenAI that they banned a cluster of accounts operated from Israel, foreign countries, that were being used to generate and edit content for an influence operation that spanned X, that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, websites, and YouTube. Now, viewers, you can go and check the amount of amplification. You check for yourself whether there is a lot of amplification for Congress party content on these social media platforms. Please check. I will not come to my conclusions, though I know what I think, but I won't force my conclusions on yours. You go and check for yourself whether there's a lot of amplification of Congress and Rahul Gandhi videos on these platforms, deliberately done from May up till now, a lot during the general elections. And then look at the way in which the American government spokesperson looks very shocked when asked a direct question, did you interfere in the Indian elections? Ladies and gentlemen, come on. The American deep state, I've been talking about them. In 3 weeks, everyone in India knows about them. You know what they have been up to. And we are keeping a watch on them. I always say that the Americans should know we know how to turn the mirror back on them. And if they try to hurt India, that is Bharat's interest, we'll teach them a lesson. Ladies and gentlemen, if the American deep state did not ask Mark Zuckerberg to be like an effective partner to censor content on Facebook through direct requests by the White House, as alleged by him, then tell me who did. Members of the American deep state, that's as sharp a question as you're ever going to get. And none of your lackeys in the American media will ask you that question. If the American deep state did not send CIA officers to hire Telegram engineers to crack their algorithm to spy, as alleged by the Telegram CEO, Pavel Durov, then who did? If the American deep state did not plant a narrative that the elections in Bangladesh are illegitimate and did not send do have secret meetings through their Consul General in Bangladesh with Muhammad Yunus in 2007 onwards and cultivate Muhammad Yunus as a deep state asset, as is now clear through the WikiLeaks information, then who did? After all of this, will anyone believe the American deep state when they say, no, we're not trying to interfere, which means, no, we're not trying to help the Congress party? If that's their kind of position, then the question is who's going to believe them? Because we know what they've done. If the American deep state did not create a narrative against India, Bharat, and the government of India during the farmers' protests, then who funded Rihanna and Greta Thunberg? Everyone knows that they push the interests of the American deep state when they're asked to or probably paid to do so. And if the American deep state, ladies and gentlemen, did not plant intel in Canada through the Five Eyes to frame India through Trudeau's false allegations against Indian intelligence for the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, ladies and gentlemen, then who did? And if the American deep state does not back terrorists like Gurupanwan Singh Pannu, who call for secession in India, who call for illegal referendums, who even threaten the lives of Indian politicians, then who does? The question is, the American deep state wants to do all this and pretend that it is not answerable to anyone. That may be everywhere else in the world, but this is Bharat. We are determined to make our place in the world. And our country is strong enough. And we know the connections between the George Soros, American deep state, and these tech companies. And we know that they act in concert to defend their own financial and political interests. But the way people of India have come together, ladies and gentlemen, I am convinced that the tide is turning. And it's turning only because you have joined me in this campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, the word is out. The American deep state is working against Bharat, is working against the present elected government of India. And the American deep state is known, it is acknowledged to be involved in illegal regime changes. It is very well known that the American deep state likes to remove leaders who it does not like. Please go and see what even professors of Harvard are now saying about the role of the American deep state in regime change. But this is Bharat. We are the world's largest democracy. The White House, American deep state, CIA, FBI, don't you dare look here. We are stronger than you. We are more united than your divided country. We are growing and you are not. You handle your silly little election. We will handle our country. Ladies and gentlemen, please spread this video as much as you can. And let's together begin to ask these questions even more strongly to those who deserve to get our questions, even if they can't answer them.
With less than 60 days left for the election day in the United States, the political atmosphere in Washington is heating up. Right on cue, the US Department of Justice has once again made scathing allegations against Russia and its state broadcaster, Russia Today. The allegation is that of election interference.
According to information made public today by the Department of Justice, we now know that RT, formerly known as Russia Today, has moved beyond being simply a media organization. We know that RT has contracted with a private company to pay unwitting Americans millions of dollars to carry the Kremlin's message to influence the US elections and undermine democracy. RT's leadership has created and directed this enterprise. Foreign governments should know that we will not tolerate foreign malign actors intentionally interfering and undermining free and fair elections. The United States will continue to both expose these state-sponsored actors who attempt to undermine our democratic institutions and hold them accountable for those actions.
Rubbishing the US allegation, RT hit back at the claims of the US by saying that there are three things certain in life: death, taxes, and RT's interference in the US elections. However, the tables turned on the US when the White House was confronted with the charges against it for interfering in India's elections. This is what the White House had to say.
One of the senior Russian officials had said that US is trying to interfere elections in India. Are you aware about that? What is the response to it?
It's not true. It's a ridiculous claim.
The flustered reaction from White House came after charges were made by Russia against the US for interfering in India's elections.
The fact that the US simply does not understand the national mindset and the historical context of the development of the Indian state, and the reason is that they try to unbalance the domestic political situation in India in order to make it harder to have the general parliamentary election, and that is part of the meddling into India's domestic affairs.
For the first time since May, the White House was forced to react on its deep state meddling in foreign democracies, including allegations of interference in India. This comes amid stark revelation made by various tech giants in the US, including Mark Zuckerberg, on the constant deep state pressure on them to censor content and toe a deep state line. With the recent events in Bangladesh, the constant meddling in India's internal affairs, the question is clear: who's failing democracy? Who's interfering in elections?
Viewers, I would like you to, in your mind, answer this question as I begin the debate. It's a very simple question, a layman question I want to start with, viewers. As we all know, and we all, if we don't know, believe, and if we don't believe, we suspect that the American deep state agent in Bangladesh is Muhammad Yunus. My question tonight is, who, in your views, very simple question, viewers, who, in your view, is the American deep state agent in India today? Who is the American deep state agent in India today who is looking to Muhammad Yunus to be inspired? Because if one American deep state agent becomes whatever he is, advisor or sheriff or whatever he is of Bangladesh, because he's not the prime minister or president, who is the American deep state agent in India? You have a right to think and try and get an answer to that question. Now, Kapil Madan, Pulla Rao, don't worry. The Americans are on your side. They're on your side. But the White House is now having to deny these claims. Say, no, it's ridiculous. No, we are not interfering. And I like that, Vivek. I like that, Akashdeep Puni. I like the Americans on the back foot. So that their G.I. Joe, their G.I. Joe version of the world meets an ounce of reality. Yes, please. I'm opening the debate now.
Arnab, there are many questions in your starting comments. Very less answers specifically. Do you know? Now, if you say that the other way around, the Honorable Prime Minister. Now, let me, sir. The Honorable Prime Minister spoke about interference of foreign people in Indian elections in the month of May. We are in September. Till now, there is not a single evidence put on by the Honorable Prime Minister or the PMO or the MEA or any other investigating agency of our country. Interestingly, if there is deep state interference in Indian elections, I think by now there should have been a statement by the MEA. Unfortunately, there is not a single statement by the MEA. Is the interference only through media channels or the interference is financial? If it is financial, then the bigger agencies like ED, like SEBI can interfere and find it out.
No, I just want to say, Akashdeep, that you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I believe that the British must dissociate from this, because the British cannot expect to have a free trade agreement with India and even directly or indirectly allow something like this to happen. In fact, the British must be very concerned Because the Americans are doing this in India today, they will do it in Britain tomorrow, and Britain is a smaller country. Britain is a smaller economy, and it's a very vulnerable polity. The British must understand that they must stand against the attempts of the American deep state to interfere in the political process of any other country. On the other side, I'd like Professor Nalapad to open. Professor Nalapad, what do you feel about the White House denial?
Look, Arnab, it's not rocket science, frankly, that the Americans have their favorites in a lot of countries around the world. Let's take 2014 Ukraine. They got the president deposed. They threw him out because the man was Russian speaking. He was not hostile to Russia or to Putin. And they put in another government which is violently Russophobic. Fast forward 2024. What do we see there? We see a regime change in which the United States, I mean, frankly, you made that charge. I would like to point out that the main culprit is the Sino-Wahhabi lobby, but that lobby is very active in the United States, especially it seemed during this administration. So the Sino-Wahhabi lobby acts through the US agencies, and then the US agencies that become the useful idiots, they take the rap for what the Sino-Wahhabis are doing. Look at Bangladesh, is a textbook example of that. And I mean, you know, the argument is RT is giving propaganda. For heaven's sake, what about all the other state channels that we have around the world, including the US? What are they giving, if not propaganda? Can you think of any one of them abusing and attacking the present government in power, whoever they are, whether it's Biden or Trump? What about the VOA? It's a nice channel. I tune on to it occasionally. I'd like to say I'm not a US phobic. I believe in a strong US-India alliance to keep the Indo-Pacific safe. But having said that, it's absurd. It's an absurd kind of statement. And you look around the world, and here, let me be very frank with you. I mean, from my researches, you know, the US is a useful idiot. I don't want to spend time researching useful idiots. I go by the perpetrators. Perpetrators, Sino-Wahhabi lobby. It's no secret they don't like Prime Minister Modi. It's no secret.
They don't like it.
Secret of it? At all. And it's also no secret whom they prefer.
Contrary, the BJP and Mr. Modi have a very good relations with the United States, whether it was Mr. Trump or Mr. Biden, and it is in the interest of the Americans to have a Modi government here.
Flooding the
And it is
internet.
Mr. Yunus who
Very
got an
complimentary
inspiration from
memes.
Modi.
You would think that he's some kind of superstar or Superman or something.
With the backing of the
he may
multinationals of
be
this
all
country
these things.
and the
But
American companies.
A lot of these
So now
memes
don't cry
are
foul.
AI generated.
I dislike America
And
from the core
frankly,
of my heart.
I've got a
And it is the
research team.
Americans which have
A
propped
lot
up the
of
Modi
them are
government here.
AI related. And these
So
memes
don't try to cook
are
up the
basically
story
spotlighting.
that Rahul Gandhi is going to take an American help.
Please keep
And,
quiet while I'm speaking.
you know,
Do me the elementary courtesy of that. Or is he incapable of that?
Don't try to cook up a
These
story
memes
that
are
Rahul
one
Gandhi is going to take an American help and he is going to
memes
try to topple the
that are
government here.
forced on
Mr.
by
Modi's
the
government
China
is a sold
lobby
government,
and are
an American
outrageous
agent
in
government,
No, the-
outlandish
the American
comments
companies
and
here
Okay, so-
selling this
so-
nation.
So here's a useful connection to draw. See, unlike you, Vivek, I go by facts, and that's why people love my program and they've watched me now,
I dislike
you know, for over
Americans.
20 years.
I
I'll
do
ask you a
appreciate
question,
turning
Vivek.
A bit of leftist.
Vivek, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You know, hyphens between the following words, or pronouns or nouns or adjectives, maybe nouns that I'm going to use now. Are these words hyphenated?
Okay.
Or names? 1. Soros. 2. Hindenburg. 3. Rahul Gandhi.
Okay. Now, I'll respond. Soros is a 94-year-old man who's half dead. Soros is a 94-year-old man who's half dead. So let's not now stop quoting him. He is a dead and a gone par. हम कब तक उसको लेकर रहेंगे?
Now listen. Vivek, I'll tell you why. But Vivek, I'll tell you how it works. I'll tell you how it works. Thank you, Vivek. I understood the depth of your argument. I will place with you, viewers, that when the first Hindenburg report was released in 2023, George Soros came out and he openly backed the report. I would like you to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that there's a company called OCCRP, which is the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, which went after the Adani Group in that context. And viewers, you will be surprised to know, or maybe not, that the OCCRP is backed directly by George Soros. And viewers, now having established this link, let me share the other fact. Right in the middle of an election,
Arnab,
one minute, right in the middle of an election, the very loyal George Soros probably nudges Hindenburg to put out another weak report on Madhavi Butch. This happens, and on Sunday morning, before Parliament is to resume, Rahul Gandhi says, tomorrow the stock markets will crash. It all seems too coincidental.
Madhavi Butch did not contest the report.
It did. It seems too coincidental.
She had stake in those companies which are controversial.
No. It's too coincidental. You understand that?
Madhavi Butch also did
and
not
we are
say
smart people, Americans. We are smart people. We are Bharatiyas. We understand everything. Savio is responding. So, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think. Who is the deep state agent of the Americans in Indian politics today?
The Americans stand strongly behind Mr. Narendra Modi.
Savio.
And Mr. Adani and Mr. Ambani and the entire cabal.
Okay, I heard you there. Now let's move on to something more substantial. Maybe Pulla or Kapil on the other side. Savio, thank you. Thank you, viewers. Thank you. Savio. Savio can open his remarks. Savio is frozen. His frame is frozen, not him. Sushant can take this forward. Sushant. Yeah, that's called dry, intelligent humor, which Vivek, you're not capable of. Thank you, Sushant. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sushant.
No, let Vivek have his day.
No, he's not having his day. He's just flattering me. Please continue.
When he's ready to keep quiet, I'll talk. No, it doesn't make a difference. If he was shouting over Dr. Nalapad, nobody can hear anything. If that is the level of debate, then there's no point talking. He can continue laughing, mocking, whatever he wants to do. That's his business. If he's willing to keep quiet, then I can talk.
He is.
Okay, so Arnab, here is the thing. I think the point which Dr. Muni made, and I'm very surprised to be agreeing with him on anything, is that, and I actually believe that there has been a consistent effort to influence Indian elections. But it is the job of the government of India, like the Americans are doing, and if they're making public allegations against the Russians, they're acting on it. It is the job of the government of India to crack down. It's not enough to say that, look, we are suspecting this. You come out with the evidence, and I think if you come down to getting the evidence, you can collect plenty of evidence. So I agree with Dr. Muni up to that extent that one should have gathered all the evidence, because there's a lot of it floating around. A lot of it is circumstantial, but a lot of it is also floating around, and I think it's the job of the government. One. Secondly, let's not forget that great powers are in the business of influencing elections and influencing politics in other countries. In the olden days, the Soviet Union used to buy out the CPI and the CPM, and there have been allegations, including some books, that certain Congress party members were also being paid off by the Soviets. The CIA is also believed to have been responsible for some of this, as has the Brits been doing it. So don't keep the Brits out of it. They have been indulging in this exercise as well. So this is an old game which is being played. It is being played even more nowadays, and it is being played by certain NGOs. It is being played through the media. It is being played through social media. It is being played through multiple sources to influence elections. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody, or should be any doubt in anybody's mind, on how this thing has been played over the last 3 or 4 years. Don't think that election, this meddling in the elections happens only in the last 3 months before an election. They start setting the stage for it a couple of years before. So from around 2019, 2020, there has been a consistent and a concerted attempt to sully the image of India, also sully the image of the government. I'm not saying that this government has done everything correct, and I'm not saying that whatever this government does, it does bad. But the fact that the narrative which has been built in the West is completely one-sided, without even the attempt to take another view or an alternate view. That is the kind of coverage that has been done, and by the so-called establishment newspapers like the New York Times, the Washington Post, and stuff like that, the FT, and other so-called establishment media. That's being done by the CNNs of this world. Look at the kind of coverage which the CNN has just done of the Bangladesh floods. It's utter nonsense. That woman, I don't know which university she went to, whether she even went to high school, and I don't know what is the quality of education they get out there, but she didn't have a modicum of brain when she covered that thing, and there was that very clear slant in that reportage. So this has been happening. Look at the way they kind of defend Muhammad Yunus, who is clearly their plant, because they have this business of importing leaders who have been sent into exile and then planting them onto the throne of countries. So Muhammad Yunus has been brought in that way, and he says that, look, as long as Hindus are being killed in Bangladesh because of political grounds, it's fine. There's no religious communal issue in it. Now, if you want to accept that, fine, go ahead, accept it. But that is the kind of logic which is being forwarded, and clearly he's being backed by the West. And you saw the celebration not just among the diplomatic community in Dhaka, but also elsewhere. And look at the way they consistently went after Sheikh Hasina. The thing is that nobody is going to admit this in public. So it is the job of the government. And my last point, Arnab, is that everything, and I'm not saying that what the Americans are alleging against the Russians is wrong, but just look at everything that the Americans have leveled allegations. All those pointers, pick them up and start applying them to India. And it's very clear that the same thing was being done in the Indian elections, not just by the Americans, but to some extent by the Brits, to some extent by the Germans, other Western countries. You had Trudeau coming out with his wild allegations. You had all kinds of things happening. You have a completely free hand being given to Khalistanis, including issuing threats to bomb aircraft, to kill people, to assassinate the Prime Minister, to threaten diplomats. No action is taken against them. So quite clearly this has been happening. Now, I again blame my government for...
Are you suggesting there was foreign funding for the India Alliance companies over here? India Alliance parties here? And what are you trying to say basically? If they are influencing elections, how do they influence it? I'm an American hater, and I know America interferes in every country. But the question is, you're accusing Rahul Gandhi. You're making a story of
Vivek, allow me to anchor this very important program.
You guys go to hotels
and curb your aspirations of taking over my job. The point is very, very important out here. It's a very critical situation. Sorry to interrupt, Sushant, but I must make a couple of points. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting many people who are calling in with the name of one person, saying this person is the American deep state agent. I will not share that name. But you ask yourself, viewers, who is the person that viewers are calling saying, we think this person is the American deep state agent. However, having said that, one point to consider. I believe that every Indian journalist slash influencer slash media organization slash YouTuber slash what do you call these digital website operators nowadays. All of these people, anyone who is taking money directly from the American government must immediately, because we'll find out otherwise. So I'm not threatening you, but I'm telling you, must declare how much money they got from the Americans and when and on what pretext. Because my information is, I'm saying with all responsibility, that the Americans have started giving small amounts of money to Indian influencers, savvy Indian journalists, Indian YouTubers, and they've started doing a lot of it of late. The Americans say that Russia today is spending $10–20 million on influencers in America to defame America. Well, Mr. Ambassador of the US in India, is it true that you organized an event, that you called influencers to your embassy? Now, all I want to know and the nation wants to know is, did you give anyone any money? Was there a cash or kind transaction? I'm asking questions. Don't you interrupt me. People of the country are with me, not with you. 1 minute. Akashdeep, hold it. It's a very important question. Oh, getting touchy, is it? Getting touchy now.
No,
Arnab's going into really nasty territory.
I request
Oh God, he's making us uncomfortable now. Oh yes, I tell you viewers, if anyone from the Americans has got $10,000, $20,000, cash kind, more, less, anything, declare, we'll get to know.
Please reveal
We don't want to embarrass you. Whoa, you find out who's been called to the American embassy of late. So if the CIA is doing... One minute. You are saying the Russians shouldn't pay influencers, but I'm asking, is the American government paying influencers? We want to know.
Arnab, can I give you a very quick response?
No, don't give me. Just hear my question.
Arnab, you gave...
Kulja, Sim, everybody will know everything soon. We got your eyes on you. We got our eyes on you.
Yes.
We got our eyes on you. Kapil?
Now, what is the premise of this debate? Premise of this debate is you are saying that Americans are interfering in our electoral process, in our democracy. Now, I'll ask a question here. What are they doing? How is there an interference? Are you trying to suggest they are hacking EVMs? Or if, there are about, more than 60% of the people who have rejected BJP, are you trying to suggest that all those 60% of our population are working at the behest of Americans, or they are...
You're sounding confused, Kapil.
I mean, this is absurd. This is absurd.
Kapil, sometimes I'm amazed at your intelligence.
Please speak on your turn.
Kapil, I'm sometimes amazed at a person as intelligent as you cannot understand that influence is got to do with a psychological aspect of influencing a particular person.
I know.
Can you grow up a little while?
I know you're getting anxious.
Can you grow up? Can you use the intelligence that God has given you to understand that you can influence people?
Hold your anxiety for some time. Now, what about Mr. Narendra Modi says? Now, what about Mr. Narendra Modi says? What does he mean when he says...
So please tell me, why are you having a problem?
We have shown...
Why are you sounding like a child?
Just a minute.
The National Endowment for Democracy is the overt operator of the United States, the State Department, the Pentagon, and the CIA. They have been working in Bangladesh. They have been working in Indonesia. They have been working in Venezuela. They have been working in India as well. What do they do? They work with political influencers. They work with media influencers. And they work with civil rights activists.
Whoa, I was just told.
So this is the overt operation of the CIA, the Pentagon, and the United States Department. And Kapil Badhan wants us to believe that India...
On the viewers, you can check for yourself something I want to share. A viewer sent me a bit of information. A viewer sent me some bit of information. I need to urgently share it. I was told that the US Embassy in India, everyone on please, everyone on, the US Embassy in India, on the 25th of July, puts out a tweet around that time saying, are you a social media influencer or content creator curious about making impactful, look at the language, so funny, impactful content that drives real change? Arey Baba, you look at your country where everybody's shooting everybody. Here is your chance to learn from the best. Join us at the American Center, New Delhi, for influence to impact. Arey Americans, who are you to tell us how to create impact? You look at your divide. Manhattan has been turned into a place where for the homeless, your economy is crashing, your presidential candidate is being shot. There is one candidate who doesn't know how to give interviews. Everything about your politics is looking unhinged, and you want to impact us. And who are the foolish Indians who want to go to the Americans to learn how to impact?
Like a communist today.
Anyway, you must be one of those anyway. Good. Wow. Okay, now viewers, I don't know. This is all information my friends tell me about. We'll have to verify.
You're talking so leftist today.
Listen to me now.
No.
Listen to me now.
I'm so happy.
Pula Rao.
Yeah.
Pularao, I don't, Pularao, nowadays, people go to America. Politicians go to America. I would advise any politician going to America to not meet Donald Lu of the State Department or anyone to do with Donald Lu, to not meet the IAMC, to not meet anti-India groups, to not meet Hindu haters, to not meet Hindu phobics, to not meet Soros-funded organizations or CIA assets.
Yeah.
Let me comment on a simple thing that I've heard. Is the American deep state competent? I just heard friends Savio say they worked in Venezuela. They've been working in Venezuela for the last 30 years. They couldn't remove Hugo Chavez. They couldn't remove Maduro.
Mr. Pularao,
and do you think...
Pularao, please go and see how the Americans have been working to destabilize countries that are not favorable to them.
They are so frustrated. They can't get Maduro. They have confiscated his plane last week. They confiscated his plane last week. They are so frustrated with the Venezuelans.
Who is the president of Venezuela?
Everybody is looking the Americans back in the eye now.
Who is the president of Mexico? And anti-American. They may be putting their fingers here and there. Are they competent enough to be taken seriously? I don't think so.
Are you saying the Americans
are they trying to meddle or not? Are they trying to meddle or not?
I don't think they will jeopardize all the agreements that Modi government has signed with them in the last 6 years.
You are being naive.
Various defense agreements. I don't think they'll jeopardize those things. And we have to take a balanced view on this.
That is politics. But politics does not change the fact that point, like the US
that point must be debated.
To control India.
That point must be debated. Professor Nalapat and Sushant, Pularao says, okay, they're interfering, but are they that competent? Second point he makes is, Professor Nalapat, that the Americans will not risk all that they have to get with India, all the agreements they have with India, the strategic agreement, Quad, blah, 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 to interfere in Indian politics. I think that's naive, but what do you think?
Well, frankly, Mr. Pularao is advocating a particular cause. And when you're in a courtroom or in the court of public opinion, you advocate a particular cause, you basically take a line. And he is, after all, I think he's based in the US, and he will defend. The fact of the matter is...
I'm right here. I'm right here in front of you.
Please, Mr. Pularao,
I'm right here in front of you.
Allowing me to speak. If you don't mind, you're a gentleman.
I'm right here in front of you.
I respect you. Please allow me the courtesy. I think the deep state... there's no sort of, they're basically useful idiots of the Sino-Wahhabi lobby. And that is why I don't put the primary responsibility on them. They're acting as dummies, as useful idiots of the Sino-Wahhabi lobby. And this has been something that has been well documented. Now, Mr. Pularao will tell you how the governor of New York, various other politicians, you have found Chinese spies. Biden's FBI, if Biden's FBI has discovered 5 Chinese spies, there'll be 5,000 to be discovered later by hopefully Harris, who will break away hopefully from this, or Trump. So please, Mr. Pularao, please don't be naive and don't tell us the US is incompetent. Sometimes if you're a giant and you're very clumsy, a lot of cutlery, a lot of crystal gets broken. And if you're saying the US is big, it's clumsy, the present administration, I agree with you, is breaking a lot of cutlery. Look at the mess it's made in Ukraine. It's destroyed that country. Look at what is happening in Gaza. If any sense, they would have had the conditions of ceasefire. You read Sunday Guardian the day after tomorrow, you will see my suggestions for that. But the fact is that they're doing nothing. This is so, I agree with either because of lack of competence or because of, pardon me, foreign interference in the United States. But Mr. Pularao, please, you and I, let's be real, let's get real. You're a good friend. I respect you. I respect your, the podcasts I've watched of you. Let's be real, please.
I think I will respect you very much if you can answer the other question which Arnab has posed you. Will they risk everything? All these agreements, 2+2, all these things.
I agree with him. I agree with you. The DOD is a strong supporter of India. State is not. Your National Security Council is not. The DOD knows the value of India. in securing the Indo-Pacific. I'm not a particularly smart guy. I know the value of India and I know the value of the United States. That's why, Mr. Pularao, if you check my writing, including my book Cold War 2.0 and my latest book, India Beyond the Pandemic, written with an American citizen, Dr. Joseph Chalil, you will see I've been a very strong supporter of India and the US working together to protect the Indo-Pacific. So please, Mr. Pularao, please do a certain amount of reading. Do me the favor. I have a lot of published work. A lot of work which is not unpublished. If it is unpublished, I have a lot of published work. If you just scroll through a little bit of that, you will see what I mean. I've been a consistent support of an India-US security alliance, a consistent supporter of making the Quad a security alliance, and that is why, thank God, you've got one department that's got its head screwed on right.
The very important thing is that we've got this.
That is the DOD.
They've also sent this very activist woke guy as ambassador. Eric Garcetti, I think his name is. The guy doesn't know where to stop. He's this woke fellow who lands up here and says, I want to interfere in Manipur. Well, nobody wants you, Mr. Garcetti. Please keep out of it. I mean, it's ridiculous. The man doesn't know where to stop. He comes to the world's largest democracy, Sushant Savio, and he says, you know what? I'm willing to help. I'm ready to help if I'm asked to do so on the situation in Manipur. We're concerned about the human rights concerns in Manipur. We're concerned about the human rights of anyone who hears the interview of Kamala Harris, Mr. Garcetti, or whoever you are. But you know, it's just crossing the line. I'm being very specific about it. When Kejriwal is arrested as per due process of law, which is upheld by the Supreme Court and High Court repeatedly, the American State Department comes and says, we're very concerned about Kejriwal being arrested. When we're implementing CAA in our country, and it's high time we talk about these things. And you know the reason why we don't talk about these things, because I'm sure half the media groups in this country directly or indirectly get some kind of American sponsorship. But my question is this: who the hell is the US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller to say, we are concerned about the notification of the Citizenship Amendment Act on March 11th? We're closely monitoring the act. We'll monitor it as much as you want. Go to hell, it doesn't matter. And how it will be implemented. And all of this, 1 minute, watch out, sir. All of this happening just before and after the general elections, and that's why people of this country are supporting this campaign on Republic. American deep state, keep out. And remember, your deep state agent, I also want to say, your deep state agent in India will go nowhere. I'm not taking names. Don't be too hopeful about any one individual. Yes.
I just have one simple thing.
Please, I'm democratic.
I have one sentence.
Why does Eric Garcetti want to interfere in Manipur? For God's sake.
This is
how does he dare to talk like that?
There is one particular very nice point.
You think we don't connect the dots?
Against uniform civil code.
Arnab, you have pointed out very important point regarding Eric Garcetti. Now the Ministry of External Affairs in May accused the US Commission on International Religious Freedom, a US federal agency, of interfering in India's electoral exercise.
Shawan live at the end.
Now, I request you to find out that what did MEA did after this particular accusation. Now, MEA spokesperson, Mr.
Okay, I'll get Sushant to respond to that. Sushant, he throws it back. He's saying, okay, Eric Garcetti is bad guy. I wouldn't say bad guy, but he's pretty foolish here to be saying that we want to willing, ready, able to assist in any way. Of course, nobody wants your help. You don't ask for our help in Mississippi. But I want to bring in Sushant on this. How should we have responded then? Are we playing too safe with the Americans?
Yeah, so Arnab, a couple of points. And let me just, because that's sticking inside me, Mr. Pularao, I think he was speaking about the Americans jeopardizing their deals with India by interfering. Perhaps if I was to turn that around, maybe they think that by interfering, if they got a government of their choice, which would sign on the dotted line, they would probably get a lot more than what they've already got. They would probably get India severing relations with Russia, India severing relations with everybody else, and just simply jumping into their lap. Who knows? So your guess is as good as mine. That is one. Secondly, yes, it's all interference by the Americans is not very competent. They're going to make a hash of Bangladesh, certainly. They made a hash of Libya. They made a hash of Syria. They made a hash of many other countries in the world. And frankly, you just need to look at what's happening in those countries to realize what a humanitarian disaster they've created. Number three, on this whole issue of how should India respond? Look, at a diplomatic level, I think the Ministry of External Affairs responded, at least to that particular report that Dr. Muni is talking about. They responded appropriately. Perhaps they could have gone a little further. There has also been some talk in India, and we never followed up on it, but there has been some talk in India that we should have our own ratings system to measure democracy in other countries, to measure elections in other countries, how transparent those elections are, how equitable those elections are. We should have our own measures of a number of other issues on which these Western countries, for example, pronounce on us, the VDEMs and the freedom houses of the world. So we've spoken about it, but we haven't started operationalizing it. I think it is about time that we have our own standards on the basis of which we judge other countries.
One sentence.
Number four, and this is again very important. The Americans feel that they have an exceptional, they enjoy American exceptionalism, that they are free to comment on other countries' affairs, they're free to interfere in other countries' affairs. And if somebody else was to do something similar in their country, then it's not kosher anymore, right? So I would imagine that there needs to be a bit of a pushback on this. Look, I have nothing against diplomats meeting politicians from both the ruling as well as the opposition parties. That is a part of a diplomat's job. The problem becomes that when it's not just a conversation which they are having, not just an understanding they are developing, but when they are actively trying to interfere in a political process of a country, which is what I think Garcetti was trying to do when he started talking about Manipur. It is not his job to talk about Manipur. If he's talking about Manipur, you can push back against a large number of crimes which happen in the United States, in which there is miscarriage of justice, there is racism, there is all kinds of other things. There are social tendencies in the US which simply are unacceptable to any sensible person, including to most Americans, right? So, this is a knife which cuts both ways. If that is the route you want to follow, then, the other side can also do it. Many countries are pushing back to the Americans.
One second. You say I respect Mr. Sushant and Mr. Nalapat too much to belittle anything they say. But I want to remind them that since 2016...
It is Dr. Muni's job, it is Salvio's job, it is, Arnab, your job to decide who will run our country. If I have to oppose the government of the country, I will oppose it within the four corners of the
Exactly. Don't go crying to the Americans and say EVMs don't work, elections don't work, everything is unfair. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo.
One minute, Arnab, can I come in?
Yeah.
I respect Mr. Sushant and Mr. Nalapat too much to belittle anything they say. But they should remember, since 2016 till 2024, America had never had a government more friendly with them, more open with them than the Modi government.
I would only say, Mr. Pula Rao, I'll stick my neck out and I'll say the Americans should take Eric Garcetti back. He's not good for India-America relations. This is my view. I can have my views.
No, that is
the third point, second point, anyway, he's been making ridiculous comments. He thinks he's a super influencer. He's not.
There are certain
so if he wants to be a YouTuber, let him go back to America and start his Hollywood career. My point is only this. People ask me, who is the American deep state agent in India? Name the person. I will not name the person. You have to decide who the person is, viewers. But you have to connect your dots. Second point is, viewers, I will tell you, the Americans don't like aggressive neutrality. Jeffrey Sachs, from one of the Ivy League universities, a professor there, recently said that the Americans removed Imran Khan because he was aggressively neutral. He wanted to keep a relationship with China and Russia and the United States. And I still remember on the first day when the Russians started the Ukraine operation, Imran Khan was very much in Moscow, and he was used as a prop by Putin to go and meet him. It was an unscheduled visit. The Americans didn't like it. The moment he came back, the deep state operation did things. The moment he complained about the operation, showing a letter on the Pakistani media, he was accused of espionage. All this has been narrated by Jeffrey Sachs, and he was out. So the Americans like to do regime change. They don't like aggressive neutrality. But there are two other things they don't like in the context of India today, Bharat today. One, aggressive neutrality. Two, strong nationalism. And third, tremendous economic growth. That is a cocktail the Americans don't like about India.
Arnab, can I just say a sentence, please? Can I say a sentence?
Please.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Americans is that, when they were involved in Afghanistan, the Americans would very often come to India and tell us that we have 95% convergence with India east of India. We have only 5% convergence with India west of India. And India needs to learn to accept that. Okay. Now, when we say to the Americans that, look, we have 95% convergence with you east of India, but we have only 5% convergence with you as far as Russia or other things is concerned, that is not acceptable.
That's the point. So, viewers, that's a very good point made strategically by Sushant, and that is not acceptable to us. Viewers, I have pictures. I thank you all for that wonderful conversation. I have pictures. I want to go to full frame, viewers. As you know, an Air Vistara flight was diverted. It was on its way from Mumbai to Frankfurt, and then it has got diverted. It's made an emergency landing in Turkey. We're told it was a hoax, that someone said there is a bomb on board. These are all the passengers of the Air Vistara flight to Frankfurt, getting off in Turkey, Istanbul. And on what exactly happened, Abhishek is with us. Abhishek, briefly.
Arnab, this was flight UK27, a Vistara flight from Mumbai to Frankfurt at around 2 p.m. India time. The Mumbai ATC received a call that there is a bomb on that flight. Like it happens, the security drill was pressed in, and the flight, which was overflying Turkey at that time, was diverted, and we are told that it made a safe landing at Erzurum Airport, not Istanbul, but Erzurum Airport, and the entire flight was evacuated, the passengers' safety taken care of. And till last reports came in, Arnab, it seems like a hoax call because there has been no follow-up. There has been an all clear insofar as the flight safety is concerned. But of course, the passengers would be taken out with a different
must be a harrowing experience for all of them. Glad to hear everyone's safe, and thank you for the update, Abhishek. More details on republicworld.com. Ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you soon for the breaking news stories and the clearest analysis. Only Republic. Good night and goodbye.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.